Hi guys, and welcome back to Cute Life Hacks. So as you can see here, it's actually possible to make a perfectly clear slime using PVA powder. And this method does not require you having to wait many hours for the PVA to dissolve, or having to heat up the mixture while stirring. This giant slime only took me 30 minutes to make, but of course, like all clear slimes, you have to wait a bit longer for the bubbles to clear. So just keep on watching to see how it's done. If you're new here, then a big welcome, and please subscribe to Cute Life Hacks and Macaroon. If you're interested in learning more about powder slimes, then be sure to watch my first two videos, which I've linked below. By the way, I know that lots of people have been missing felting and clay videos, and I promise those are coming back soon. I'm working on a big DIY compilation right now, which takes a lot of time to film and edit, but it's coming on September the 1st. So getting back to the PVA. I'm actually making a giant slime here, which is a bit more difficult to get right. If you make this in a smaller container, then it should be much easier and take even less time to complete. You'll need 1/3 of PVA powder with 2/3 water. This recipe is based on another powder slime DIY by the YouTuber Andrea X Andrea. However, in her experiments, the PVA took over 6 hours to dissolve, and that's what we're going to get around today. First, fill up 1/3 of your container with PVA powder, then pour it back out and set this aside. A trick to getting PVA to dissolve more easily is to use cold water, which I also mentioned in my original slime powder video. So run your tap until it becomes very cold, and then use a large container to transport the water so it doesn't warm up too quickly. You need to mix the powder and water together very gradually, so begin with a small amount of both. As you can see here, using a spoon to mix doesn't work well at all. The powder simply clumps together and floats around in little blobs. The second trick to making clear powder slime is to mix with your hands. So put on some rubber gloves and get your hands into the mixture. You want to rub the clumps of PVA between your fingers or against the side of the container until they dissolve. Another thing I discovered is that you have to be very careful when adding the powder. If you can see white patches of powder on the surface like this, then you've already added a bit too much. These take much longer to dissolve and they have a tendency to stick together. What you actually want to do is sprinkle the PVA powder so lightly onto the water that it doesn't even have time to form clumps. It also helps a lot to keep mixing with one hand while you sprinkle the powder inside. This process is actually most difficult at the very beginning when the water is still quite liquid. Once you've dissolved enough PVA powder inside, it becomes thicker and then it actually gets easier to add more. At this point, it'll look quite cloudy and there might be foam or bubbles on top. This is good because it means the PVA is dissolved in the water and not clumping on the bottom. Now you can slowly add the remaining ingredients until you have the final ratio of 1/3 PVA and 2/3 water. If you want to make a smaller version of this slime, then simply use the same measuring cup or spoon for water and PVA. The final mixture feels a lot like wallpaper paste. And just in case anyone's wondering, unfortunately real wallpaper paste doesn't work for slime because it's made from a type of starch and doesn't contain any PVA. The next step is adding baking soda. You'll need quite a big amount since PVA and water both have unusual pH, and this mixture needs to have a fairly high alkaline pH for it to turn into slime. I used about 8 packets or 100 grams of baking soda for this amount. Now start adding your contact lens solution. I ended up using 2 bottles, however my slime is huge, so you should adjust your amounts accordingly. If you find that your slime isn't quite coming together, then you can always add more baking soda and more activator. By the way, if you do have access to BORAX solution, then I would recommend using that when making a large quantity of clear slime. Because of the chemistry involved, which I've explained in this video, you'll need a lot more activator to make clear slime compared to fluffy slime. So if you decide to use contact lens solution, then it might end up being more expensive. Eventually, your slime should turn thick and fluffy. It looks white because of all the air bubbles that were mixed inside. To be honest, when I made this, I didn't think it would actually turn clear, because the PVA powder is white to begin with and the mixture is completely opaque. However, I decided to leave it alone for a few days and I was shocked to see the bottom part actually start turning transparent. This is how I looked after 2 days, and just below it is the glue slime I made for my giant foam video. Almost all the bubbles have gone after 4 days, and after 10 days we have a perfectly clear slime. So now it's time to open this up. I taped the lid shut just to make it airtight since this isn't a proper slime container. You can obviously skip the tape if you use a normal Tupperware box. A thing that often happens to clear slime is that the surface starts to dry in the time that the bubbles are clearing. It looks slightly cloudy because there's still a few air bubbles trapped inside, and it feels slightly rubbery when you press on it. I simply prefer cutting this layer away with scissors so you're only left with the fresh slime underneath. However, be sure to keep the extra bits you cut away because they're still perfectly good for playing with. So now we have our transparent slime made from PVA powder. This is definitely on the sticky side and probably great for making foam or fishbowl slimes. You can tell the difference between a good and a bad slime by how easily it comes off your skin. A slime is allowed to be sticky, but you should be able to peel it off your skin just by using your fingers like this. If you literally can't get it off without using water or soap, then it means the slime wasn't properly activated and is basically still glue. If you do find it a bit too sticky to play with, then you can always add more contact lens solution or activator to make the slime smoother. In comparison to other clear slimes, this one has almost no smell at all, which I find quite pleasant. I wasn't quite sure what to do with this huge batch of slime, so I want to ask all of you for suggestions. Please write in the comments below what you want to see mixed into clear slime. It can be absolutely anything, from craft supplies to food to everyday objects or even makeup. I will pick at least 20 of the craziest and most creative ideas for a future video. And of course, if your comment gets chosen, then I'll feature it in the video as well. Now the slime has become cloudy again since I've been playing with it for a while, so I'm going to place into some smaller containers and wait for it to turn clear. One important thing I discovered about PVA powder slime is that it doesn't contain any preservatives or stabilizers like glue, so it will turn moldy more easily. This is particularly a problem in summer where it can get really hot and humid inside a normal room. So to prevent this from happening, I'm going to keep all of these in the fridge. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see all of your slime mixing suggestions below. You can also find me on Instagram under my username Macaroon. And if you speak German, then be sure to subscribe to our brand new German channel cutelifehacks.de, which I've linked below. This is Joanna, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you soon. Bye!